This was quite the interesting election. As I said on the election night, I genuinely, when I said that anything other than a conservative minority would shock me, I'm still genuinely in shock.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Radical Center. Welcome back, Cody. You are back. Isn't that great?
I am back. Yes, how are you?
Not bad at all. I am excited. I am happy. We have all the elections now behind us, at least for a little while. It is a minority government, so you never know. There could be an election tomorrow. Hopefully not. I think I can speak for most, if not all Canadians, that we are a little bit tired and we would like some stability. So let's talk a little bit about the results. We did have a broadcast, but we couldn't stay up all night because we got tired, and so did the rest of the world. But anyway, let's talk about the election results from the Atlantic, from Ontario and BC. Cody, what do you think?
Well, I think this was quite the interesting election. I mean, as I said on the election night, I genuinely, when I said that anything other than a conservative minority would shock me, I'm still genuinely in shock for a number of reasons, but primarily because in the last few weeks of the campaign, from my point of view, the Liberals, they took their foot off the gas. They thought they were headed for a majority. Trump was in the news less. And even especially during the debates, it focused back on the bread and butter issues, right? I think covering Trump was one of the smallest parts of the debates. But all around, the results were interesting. I mean, if you take a look at Atlantic Canada, they flipped one seat, but I think they lost. Sorry, when I say they, I mean the Conservatives. They flipped one seat in Newfoundland. They came within 12 votes of flipping another seat. It was the closest seat in the country, Terra Nova and the Peninsulas. In Ontario was interesting because when the results were coming in, Conservatives were flipping some seats and then losing a few others. I mean, Brampton West really shocked me because I thought it was going to be a clean sweep. But I think the summary for the Conservatives of this election is that it was a good election. They did not win. They came 25 seats close of winning a plurality. But now they have a base to grow on. And we'll talk more about that specifically.
Yeah, we'll talk
But
about
what
that.
yeah.
We're going to talk all about Pierre Poilievre and what he's going to do next, or what he should do next. But one thing that we kept talking about throughout the election is, what is the ballot box question? And you very specifically put it as, the ballot box question, if the Liberals win, will be Donald Trump. And if the Conservatives win, it will be about affordability and pocketbook issues and long-standing affordability issues before Donald Trump. I think, honestly, it turned out to be a mixture of both. I don't think there was a clear ballot box question, although Donald Trump certainly was a huge factor. But I think the bigger factor perhaps had to do more so with the NDP collapsing, and I'm going to call it a strategic collapse. Most likely to keep Poilievre from forming government, but also perhaps to get a new leader because they've been unhappy with their leader for some time. So I honestly don't think there was a very clear ballot box issue. It was a mixture of the two. What do you think?
That's interesting the way you put it. And I guess the results could support your argument because in terms of seat count, the Conservatives and the Liberals, there's a 25 seat gap, right? But I mean, I think Donald Trump, rightly or wrongly, influenced the outcome of this election. You're right. It was pretty much a binary choice, right? And I think at the end of the day, I think that there were a lot of people that were afraid of Donald Trump, and that decided their vote. The NDP, yes, they collapsed. I don't think they're dead though. They'll make a comeback. Without Trump in the picture, the NDP will be back with a vengeance, and that's going to be a challenge that I think Mark Carney is going to have as Prime Minister. But yeah, I think we're both right in a way. I think I can be right in the sense that Donald Trump won the ballot box issue, but you're also right in saying that there might not be a clear ballot box question because it was so close.
Yeah, for sure. And I think you're right about the NDP. They will certainly make a comeback, and it will be certainly Mark Carney that will have to deal with the impact of that. I think the next election will not look like this one. This was a very different election. This was a very historic election. I think things will be different in the future, although it's very early to say. We should give Mr. Carney some time to govern before we start making opinions or forming opinions about how well he's going to do or how well he's doing. But I think if 4 years pass by and he is still the prime minister and there's an election coming, things will be significantly different, and the factors that will influence. I always say there are several factors that influence the outcome of an election. You have to learn what the factors are, what are the factors you can control, and do your best to control them. And then you also have to learn what are the factors that you can't control and do your best to mitigate against them. So this was that kind of election where there was just too many factors that nobody could control. And I think Carney did the best job of mitigating against them. There are a lot of things that Pierre needs to work on, but we're going to get to that. First, we're going to talk about the Liberal minority. So, what should Mr. Carney focus on? Prime Minister Carney, we should call him that now.
Yeah, I wish we had done this podcast the day after the election, because there are three things that I think that he should have as his priorities, and he's already done two of them. So I'm going to give him a little bit of credit. The first thing that he should do, and that he is going to do, is meet with Trump. If he were listening to me, my number one advice to him is act more like Keir Starmer and Emmanuel Macron than Vladimir Zelensky. Do not go in there thinking that you are a tough guy and you're going to convince Donald Trump otherwise. Go in there, you be respectful, you say your piece, and you get a win out of it if you do it that way. Then the second thing is let Pierre win a by-election. And it sounds like Mark Carney is not going to get in the way of calling a by-election. He's going to do that as quick as he possibly can. Now, the timing of that is going to be interesting, which we'll talk about when we get to talking about Pierre. But so yeah, that's 2 out of 3. So the third one is he needs to make a deal with Trump. And whatever deal that is, it'll have to include easing some of the tariffs. It might have to start at renegotiating the current trade deal that we have with the United States. My gut feeling that he is going to get a deal with Trump. So right now, 2 out of 3 ain't bad, as the Meatloaf song goes. But we'll see how the third one shakes out, because he is going to be beating President Trump on Tuesday. What do you think?
I agree with that. I think that all of those priorities should definitely be his priorities. But I also think that there's one more priority that he needs to focus on. This country has gone through a lot since COVID. A lot. A pandemic followed by economic troubles, affordability issues, a housing crisis.
And we're still going through it.
We're still going through it. It hasn't ended, right? Tariff threats, very, very difficult issues abroad that have had a lot of local impact on us as Canadians. So he needs to unite the country. And in order to do that, he needs stability. He can't. Pierre's going to get back in the House, and fair. His party wants to keep him. They want to give him a seat. Let him back in the House. But the country needs stability. And I don't know if Pierre's going to turn down the rhetoric, which we're going to talk about, because I think he needs to do that. He needs to grow up a little, right? Because clearly Canadians don't like your style, right? So we're going to talk more about Pierre. But what I think Carney really needs to do is he needs to work with the NDP, the Bloc, the Conservatives, the Green Party to figure out a way to stabilize things for the next 4 years. And that could look many ways. I read an article, another agreement with one or two of the parties, but I actually really like the idea of him inviting members from other parties to join his cabinet and, allow allow a minority government to be what it's supposed to be, working together, not, standing and, just exchanging insults all day long, because it's political theater. We all know that that's not how decisions get made, right? So I think he needs to provide stability, and I think he needs to figure out a way to unite the country. Not just because of Donald Trump, but sure, that is a big reason, but because Canadians have been through a lot, and we need to come together from coast to coast, and we need to stop hearing about separation of this, separation of that, and this and then the other thing. Will he govern for four full years? I just presented my solution of how he could go about doing that. But what do you think, Cody?
Only if the NDP allows it. It's as simple as that. I
And they
don't think
will.
he
They will, because they need to.
I don't know. I don't think it'll be the full I
They
think
need
there
to
is a
rebuild.
reasonable huh?
They need to rebuild. They've got nothing.
Well, I don't know. Here's the thing. What does rebuilding mean? Because the question they have to ask themselves is, did they lose because of Donald Trump, or did they lose because NDP voters don't like them anymore? Right? That's the question they have to ask. If they start to see that they gain support once Donald Trump, you know, is no longer the top issue, then maybe they want to go to the polls early. Maybe they'll ask themselves, well, Jake Meat kind of messed up in not calling an election in the fall, so I don't think it'll last the full 4 years. I think once we get past this Donald Trump thing, maybe 2 years, maybe three.
You don't think the Donald Trump thing will last 4 years? He just got in the White House.
No, I don't think so. Because if
I think it's going to be on and off for 4 years until he's gone.
but at that point, people just become numb to it. Like
Yeah,
people,
but that fear is still going to be there. It'll be like lingering in the background. People are starting to get numb to it now.
I don't know. We'll see. It's to be determined.
All right,
We,
all right.
we
We
can
we can wait.
we will, yeah, we can wait and
We'll
see.
get back to you in 4 years on the
In
wrap.
4 years, yes.
We'll
Hopefully we're still
there.
around.
Okay, let's talk about. I think this is going to be my favorite part of the show. What's next for Pierre Poilievre? How the hell did he lose that riding?
We're going to disagree, and we're
Mm-hmm.
going to agree to disagree. I know we're going to disagree. I'm not going to get ahead of you.
You know what I'm
There,
saying?
I know what you're going to say, and we're going to disagree. That is, in the national picture, that is a small part of it, I believe. So there are 3 reasons. There are 2-ish that I would say that are the most important of the reason why he lost his riding. I think that the riding redistribution had a lot to do with it. I think that he had a well-funded and well-supported opponent. You and I both know, because we've been involved in politics, is that when people run against a party leader, typically they don't get any support. They're putting their name on the ballot to be a sacrificial lamb. And I think that, to Bruce Fanjoy's credit, he fundraised money, he got the support, he got volunteers, and he worked his ass off canvassing for 2 years. So I think that was a big part of it. A third reason, I think, it's maybe a small percentage, is the longest ballot. I think that the ballot, the psychological impact that it has on voters, I do think that it made a bit of an impact. And that's to the credit of the longest ballot committee, or whatever the hell they're called. They partly won here too.
Yeah.
Right?
I love troublemakers.
So they get some credit too, because I looked at the ballot myself and I'm like, holy geez, like it took me a while to find Pierre's name. So imagine the average person. The reason why I say that, and I don't think that it's his personality, is because he's been that representative for 20 years. And I think that you don't survive that long if people don't like you. So, but you could go ahead, you say your piece. I know what you're going to say, but go ahead and say it.
He knows what I'm going to say, people. He knows
Yeah.
what I'm going to say. You're right. I disagree.
Yeah.
I don't think it's his personality. I think it's the persona he built after he became the leader. Those are 2 different things, right? I don't know Pierre, but he seems like a nice guy. His wife seems to like him. He seems...
I would hope that she
I don't
does.
think he's going around being mean to people on the street.
Yeah.
I don't think he's doing that, right? But I do think he built a persona after he became the leader that people weren't aware of when he wasn't the leader, because, you know, people don't pay that much attention to, even if you're a cabinet minister. Most people don't pay that much attention, right? If you ask the average Canadian to name 3 cabinet ministers, I don't know if they'd be able to. But he built this persona after he became the leader, which was not popular, right? This brash, anti-media, anti-this, anti-that. Buddy, you're running in Ottawa, man. Like you can't do that. Right? This new seat is in a different part of the country where that might be a little bit more popular, right? But you can't do that. There's just certain things that just didn't go over well. Like it was just like you can't imagine this guy being prime minister and running a country and going to speak on behalf of Canada in different places when he's just being like, he doesn't want to talk to the reporters and won't answer questions, and then this, that, and the other thing. So I don't think it's his personality. I think it's the persona he built, which was strategic. This was their strategy. It was supposed to be, you know, not, I don't want to say MAGA 2.0, because I don't necessarily think they were going for that. I think they were going for, you know, that whole like brash Trump style, whatever. But that doesn't work for everyone. It just works for Trump. And I am no fan of Trump as I say this, but Trump has a sense of humor.
Yeah, that's actually, I'm glad you said that because, yes.
Like if you listen to that man, it's entertaining. Go on TikTok and just watch how many videos are of people like doing Trump impersonations, because he is entertaining. Pierre's not entertaining at all, right? It doesn't work.
My father-in-law and I were sitting at the table and we were talking about this, right? And he said, Pierre has to stop smiling. And I'm like, yeah, I know, it's kind of uncomfortable, right? And he's like, yeah, he's like, the guy's got to stop smiling and he's got to put his glasses back on, because that's not who he is. I think we might find a little bit of
gym so much. No, I'm kidding. Go to the gym, Pierre. It's healthy.
Gym is good. Gym is good. The other thing that I would say is what I think he needs to do is he has to find a way to, yes, be more funnier, but he also has to say to certain group of people, and you got to figure that they have to figure them out on their own. I mean, I don't have all the data or whatever, but they have to make the argument that Trump did during the election. And what he said is, look, you may not like me. You may think I'm an asshole. And yeah, I am, right? Trump admits who he is. But at the same time, you have to push your ballot question. Do you want another 4 years of this Liberal government? Is your life better off than it was 4 or 10 years or whatever? So there is some things that he does have to do personality-wise. I do agree that there has to be something changed.
He needs a persona that actually, well, again, I don't know his personality, so maybe he is not a nice guy. I don't know. But he needs a persona that would work for his personality.
Right. And he started at near the end of the campaign. He did a few podcasts that nobody watches, but we'll just say he did a few podcasts. And he said, he was asked the question is, why do some people not like you? And he gave a good answer. He said, look, I understand. Some people don't like it when I'm angry. I am angry that there's a housing crisis. There's an affordability crisis. I'm angry when people come up to me and tell me that, you know, their family members have died from fentanyl overdoses. That's where I think he should go, because at least you could plant it in people's mind that he knows the way he comes off, but this is why he comes off that way.
He doesn't sound angry. He sounds miserable. He doesn't come across angry. He just looks like he's just grumpy. Angry is different. Angry means there's passion involved. He just comes across as he's grumpy and he's trying to be sarcastic, but he's also not funny. So his jokes don't really land. Like, they don't really get any laughs. He's trying to make fun of someone, but like, it's